Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the midweek edition of the New Fashion Conservatives podcast. I'm Justin Phillips, and with me, as always, is someone who, unlike Francesca Hong, doesn't want to cancel Christmas or the 4th of July or Thanksgiving or Halloween or Valentine's Day. And he is Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
In this episode, we have to talk about the Hong Oppo dump that is coming out like Taco Bell lettuce. It broke on Wisconsin Conservative X Containment. I've seen it on Conservative X accounts I didn't even know existed, going in and attacking Hong and getting hundreds and thousands, if not millions of impressions about how much she hates the holidays. And on top of that, I've seen Reddit, the bastion of liberty and free thought, has been breaking bad on Franny as well. With all these attacks, it's not just these one-off gaffes. It's not these little things. It's like it's not this occasional weird, quirky thing. It's a constant stream of far-left, progressive, socialist, and even communist level, like college student takes. So Shadow Gov, which Hong Oppo drop should we talk about first? Because there's a lot.
Well, boy, I mean, we should probably start from the beginning. I believe 1492. I believe was the year. Francesca Hong just happens to hate everything nice about America. All the fun stuff, if you will. There's, of course, lots to love about America, but who doesn't love, Thanksgiving, being with family, being with friends, some camaraderie, being thankful for each other, for the blessings that the last year brought us, and, a good excuse to get together over some turkey and some football.
I love that. It's my favorite.
It's my favorite. I love it so much. Can you guys hear the sarcasm in my voice? Because that's what Francesca did. She's, of course, for those that are in the know, you already know. But for those of you who didn't know, Francesca a number of years ago basically said, quote, cancel Thanksgiving. And then there was a screed, of course, after it. And, we'll obviously get into some other things that she said, but my favorite thing about the Oppo is what do people glom onto? What do they talk? What do people think is like the worst? There's so much stuff out there right now that like you said, has broken containment. People are talking about it everywhere. But the Thanksgiving one seems to be one that has like the hook that at least right now, that's the one that's kind of making the rounds. That's the one that people are talking about the most. I think that there's some other ones that are worse, but this is the one that maybe this one's the most alarming because of how simple Thanksgiving is. It's like, it's just a time to see family and be thankful. And she turned it into this whole, white grievance, woke, stolen land, insert woke buzz term. That's what this, post was.
It's woke 1.0, and I think that's the real issue here is we are so far removed from that. I think there are so many normies that are just over that incessant, like every word is racist, everything is racist, everything is colonization, we are on stolen land, all of that. I think so many people are just over that bullshit. And yeah, cancel Thanksgiving was one, but like, just to cover some others, she's tweeting about how much she hates fireworks around the 4th of July. She talks about, she made this one that says, IT bro who was working on quote unquote our computer remotely changed the background theme to snow and Christmas trees. I feel slightly attacked. The one that I might even be like, I understand where she's coming from. Now she says a really awful thing, but like if she worked in the service industry, I can get why you don't like Valentine's Day because it's a rush of people and everyone's, like trying to squeeze in a reservation. But she says it in just such the wrong way of, she hates working on V-Day as if it weren't invisible enough to those who don't recognize the emotional and physical labor of service work. The worst of humanity comes out from folks celebrating on another day of capitalism tells you how to show love. So, of course, she doesn't take this like it's a stressful day for service workers, but she makes it about capitalism. And yes, she dropped this take about Thanksgiving. It's cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. Now, anyone with half a brain knows by now that Thanksgiving as it stands was not, we recognize the first Pilgrims' Thanksgiving where they broke bread with the Indians who, showed them how to farm the land and peaceably coexist. But Thanksgiving was a Civil War era holiday created by Abraham Lincoln to create unity during the bloodiest conflict in American history. Just basic common sense stuff. Like, again, that's cancel Thanksgiving because of, colonization is such a woke 1.0 college girl take that it's insulting to so many people now. But of course.
Well, you should explain, though. You should explain woke 1.0, though, because to some people, obviously, again, that are on the X-verse, you probably see that term going around a lot. But the way I see it, at least, is like basically 2020 incarnate. You had the black square. You maybe weren't all that social justice oriented in giant quotes, but you put the black box up. You were like, oh, George Floyd was, that wasn't a great look. We should, police brutality, COVID. You kind of bought into everything, but then maybe you moved on from it later because, you grew up. Whereas Francesca's basically stuck there, and hasn't changed at all. And frankly, she was woke before it was even cool. Based off of, her Twitter history, it seems that she's been awoken for quite some time. So this is kind of the perpetual high school, college kind of views that are frankly very alienating to very many people. And so that's kind of why I think this, if it was just a one-off comment about Thanksgiving, okay, maybe. But then she has kind of the comment about Christmas and Valentine's Day and everything else. You're like, okay, so this is she just hates everything. She just hates everything normal. And I mean, sure, is the embellishment about Christmas maybe, a little much? However, there is a trend, though. There's a similar thread between them all where she just generally, she likes to attribute a lot of these things to, white supremacy, colonization. And it's just like, no one wants to hear that Christmas is white Christmas, being about a Me Too thing, stuff like that.
She's the dumb girl who's come back to her hometown on Christmas break that is regurgitating the talking points from her freshman year Western Civ and American History 101 socialist professor. That's all this is. Woke 1.0. I can't tell you how many Instagram accounts I stopped following because everyone put up the black square and how we need to reflect and do better. And I'm like, okay, thank you, golf equipment company that I haven't bought anything from in a decade. Like, great. Watch company that I can't afford a watch from. Don't really need you to tell me how I'm the racist because as a white suburban conservative male, I am part of the problem. And my woke 1.0 story really encapsulates, again, not just woke 1.0, but the idiocy of HR. While working at Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation in 2021, we wanted to have a back to, get together so people felt comfortable. We don't see each other often. We only see each other through screens. So let's have an event. And of course, we called it a picnic. And guess what HR did? They scolded us for calling it a picnic because they claimed that term was associated with lynching. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, that was made up whole cloth, complete lie by some Afro, feminist studies professor at Ohio State. Like, there's no basis in saying that a picnic was a time when a bunch of white Southerners went to watch people get lynched. That was made up entirely. But that's what HR did. Now, of course, me being the smart human being that I am, I sent the fact check by Reuters to HR to let them know they were fucking morons. And I will continue to this day, always tell people how stupid HR is. But that's what, woke 1.0. Of course, talk about the holidays. I'm going to, not the first to say it, but her silence on Toyotathon speaks volumes. Her failure to wish anyone a happy Honda Days is also part of the problem. But she, so she went on CNN earlier this week too, and gave the opportunity to respond. And then let me see if I can play that clip from where we are and if this works. I'm going to play a clip for you really quickly of Francesca Hong going on that.
So we moved to LA. My father gets a job at the Palm Restaurant. My Uncle Junior works there, who is a Jehovah's Witness, believe it or not. He went from Catholic to Jehovah. So basically, my grandmother wanted us all to switch from Catholic to Jehovah. Meanwhile, we're from Harlem. My father's doing coke. My mother thinks she's Aunt Margaret. She's teasing the hair with a bottle of vodka. So dysfunctional, cross-addicted family, still cooking pasta on Sundays. And the meatballs, they wind up being burnt. Like, it just got so dysfunctional. It got pretty bad.
Now, there you go.
Someone's voice went down a few octaves.
No, that, of course, is a joke. I'm not the first one to pull that. But, she did go on CNN and was asked, the question sincerely, do you want to cancel Thanksgiving? And I'm going to play that actual clip right now.
Obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef. And one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
So again, I think those two clips were genuinely indistinguishable. How do you just not say no? She is, again, and I think one of the problems that her campaign has is she's entirely surrounded herself by these woke, socialist, hyper progressive white women who are seal clapping along to everything she's saying, and they think it's brilliant and only making things worse.
Yeah, it is actually incredible. The level of kind of tunnel vision they have. And maybe this is just maybe they're seeing something that we don't, or maybe they're putting on a facade. But if you look at the kind of the things that you can glean from the staff or whatever, and I know that Hong's communications director is on Twitter and posts, and of course they're going to pump up. They're not going to say oh, she sucked in this interview or anything, but clearly, this was a workshopped answer. This was not, I don't think this was Hong just going off the cuff. They clearly prepared for this, and this is the best they came up with. I'm a chef, okay? The people on Reddit, online, even the Democrats that probably don't love Hong, but will probably vote for Hong, they're just lie. Just lie. Just say no. No, I don't want to cancel Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving isn't bad. Just lie. And she can't do it. This is standing on her principles and standing, on business. She's kind of the one I'm not afraid to back down. Well, she's not going to back down from the fact that she thinks that Thanksgiving is a colonizer holiday and that we're just supporting colonization and yada, 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 black and brown bodies, whatever. They've got their woke justification. So she is just digging a hole. And basically, of course, she's given the chance to kind of rectify the situation, and doubles down in just a very convoluted, and we talked about this last week about how Hong does this she talks around an issue. She might not directly address it, and she thinks she's being cute. I'm not really saying yes or no, but I'm going to kind of explain it away and hope people forget. The contrast between it's Thanksgiving and you can't just say, no, I'm not going to cancel Thanksgiving. And then you give this convoluted answer. Eventually people are smart enough to at least you would hope that people are smart enough to figure this out and be like, okay, she can't even answer a basic question. How is she going to answer about, some of the biggest issues pressing Wisconsin right now? So it's honestly this is honestly the perfect situation for Republicans where it's such a simple answer, a simple concept, and she can't do it. And it should be a massive warning sign, which is why all of my normie friends are like, hey, is Francesca Hong, is she going to be our governor?
Mhm.
Like, you haven't texted me about this in a while, or you haven't texted me about politics in a while, and all of a sudden I'm hearing about Francesca Hong from you. Interesting. So it can be a good or a bad thing depending on who you ask, but just an incredible answer, a lack of an answer. And of course, we saw recently that she had to go on, Politico.
Yeah. So
if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. But I want to set it up by saying that, her comms girl was, again, being the bobblehead, just going along nodding and be like, yes, yeah, queen, go off. And she even posted like a quote tweet from the CNN clip and being like, Francesca Hong cooked here. And David Axelrod, who's, one of Obama's like architects, was like, yeah, if you mean cooked as in she's done, and if we keep answering things like this, we're going to look like idiots. Yeah, she cooked. So yeah, Hong today, or on August 5th, goes on Politico. And in what is probably the most pathetic possible answer and clip that she had, like, the setup for this was so easy. And again, no follow-up questions. Yeah, I'm gonna let the guy who does the interview. You could just hear how stupid this sounds. So we're gonna play that clip for you right now.
My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, because I
There
love
you have it.
Thanksgiving. Yep. I don't want to cancel it. I actually love it. We bring, actually, it's kind of in-laws and family members and their in-laws, and it's a big event. I'm gonna be real. I'm kind of a curmudgeon when it comes to holidays in general. But right now, what we want to get serious about is making sure that we deliver a Democratic trifecta for the majority, for Democrats.
So again, the clip that we played, the audio doesn't do it justice, because once again, Hong has this like weird face. She makes these weird kind of,
she's
like,
bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
She's clearly not wanting to do like eye contact. It's just,
Right.
It screams evasive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this. Like, I kind of have to do this. Like, I want to get it over with. I don't know. Very odd. Yeah.
But let's talk about, well, the Politico's follow-up is, well, there you go. There you go, folks. It doesn't matter anymore. She has said she doesn't want to cancel Thanksgiving. We can forget all about this. Like, Politico out here doing the blocking and tackling of this issue for Francesca Hong. It's almost as much as an in-kind contribution in terms of how pathetic and biased that interview was.
And I mean, just to put it in perspective, it is August, early August here, right before the primary. And someone's already having to have scripted damage control by a national outlet.
Yep.
Oof. Like,
yeah.
We haven't even gotten to local media. You think,
right.
And this is a credit to our local media, do you think Matt Smith is going to let you off the hook for that? I don't think so.
No. How many people did they have to shop this to guarantee that they wouldn't ask any serious follow-ups? I think the only follow-up was, what's your favorite food that you make at Thanksgiving? And she said stuffing. Not, so do you disavow all of your other comments? Or maybe someone with half a brain would be like, why is a single mom talking about her in-laws at Thanksgiving? And is that your proximity to whiteness, that you bring them back over and hang out with them? It just, again, seems very confusing that she would kind of go off on this thing about who she spends her holidays with when she is in fact claiming to be a single mother. I mean, just the whole thing, it was awkward. Again, the audio doesn't do it justice, because not only does she evasive, is she squirming around, is she failing to make eye contact with the camera? So you can see how, like I said, evasive, how she's probably lying and doesn't want to do this. But there's a huge jump cut in two of those. In a 90-second clip from Politico, there are two major jump cuts. And the first is, well, my favorite holiday. And then she kind of trails off and, pregnant pause, Thanksgiving. It's like, what happened in between those clips that's the best they could come up with? That's like a Joe Biden level jump cuts of like all of these ones in a 90-second clip because he can't talk straight. I mean, Francesca Hong is basically doing the same thing here.
Yeah. And this goes to show, boy, I know we've said it so many times, but it must be so easy to be a Democrat and being able to do like comms work where they rarely they get called on the carpet. her stuff.
Mhm.
And I could probably give a lot of crap to like I want to say the regular Democrats, the more establishment Democrats who, yes, they deal with the media, but they still, I think, have a more favorable position to work from. The socialists, the DSA types that are running Francesca Hong's outfit right now have been so incredibly insulated. They have no idea. Like, sure, they're like, oh, the Republican, war machine will be ripped and ready to go after us. But like, this is like completely flat-footed in every sense of the word, that they are. I know it's like, oh, they're not ready for prime time. No, they're not ready for any time. This is so bad. Like, were they not expecting to get this far and potentially win? Were they not prepared for the potential? I mean, surely Fox News has been around for a long time, and they love the socialism stuff, that as soon as there's a Fox News hit, they had to know that this was going to go, gangbusters, and then lead into this giant spotlight on our campaign and have to answer. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I've never run a statewide race before, so I'm not going to pretend that it's some easy proposition. But surely they would be more ability to have some. They would have some ability to have something planned out a little bit better.
No, I have to completely agree with something you say, and that is the easiest job in politics anywhere is the Democrat comms person, and the easiest job in the state of Wisconsin is being a comms person on a governor's race, because all Molly Beck or Jesse Apoyan do are reprint your exact talking points. And again, that's how they got Politico to do this. They shop this around, because there's only 2, maybe 3 respectable journalists in the entire state of Wisconsin when it comes to political news. Everyone else, again, just hacks that print are stenographers for the party. So for Hong, yeah, she's finally facing a little bit of criticism. And again, it's taking her multiple tries to kind of workshop the right answer to, get what people want to hear. But yeah, as Ronald Reagan said, and we've said on the pod before, if you're explaining, you're losing. And if you're on August 5th, first week of August, having to explain your thoughts on Thanksgiving, that's a bad spot to be. But it's not just Thanksgiving. She's had a few other ones that dropped recently that really stuck out to me. One of them I wrote for in the Heartland Post was about her claims that tipping is racist and rooted in white supremacy. Now, this was a clip that came from Wisconsin Leadership Summit on a Zoom thing. So I'm guessing it's a couple years old, but it was, reposted and it's getting a lot of attention, that she says that, we are finally having this conversation about how our industry really did come from is rooted in white supremacy. Now I'm trying to read her quote directly, that tipping itself, if we look at the history of tipping and how racist it is and how it has kept wages low for Black people for so long time. If you look at tipping now, how different the scales are in terms of who receives higher percentage of the tips over other folks. Now, again, I'm reading that directly because we've already played too many Francesca Hong clips tonight, but it's also something that has been invented from whole cloth. There is virtually no evidence that tipping was meant to keep wages down. There's only one instance of it, and that was the Pullman Company used tipping to underpay newly freed Black workers, but that exploitation does not make it the custom. In fact, this entire thing goes back to medieval and early modern European service industry workers, was giving gratitude to servants and laborers centuries before not just American slavery, but America in general. You're talking about Shakespearean times having some sort of tipping, but she's out there claiming it's rooted in racism. But then again, as we've seen through her votes alone, she thinks it's racist, but she still wants to tax it. Yeah. And she was out there, standing against the Trump policy of no tax on tips. When given the opportunity to vote for it in the state legislature, I think she actually ducked the vote completely. But she is certainly not sided with industry workers other than this, lip service to, again, the woke, progressive,
the working class.
Crowd. Yeah.
Which the working class is just, I mean, boy, it is obviously, I think voters are becoming attuned to it. Like, oh, they just say working class and they just assume that every union and, hourly paid worker will just rally behind them all of a sudden. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course, speaking of the service industry, I mean, you also, there was also another story brought up about Francesca Hong's use of, the illustrious 86 number, where in the service industry, it means to kind of remove, cut off. And she had a comment about that potentially.
Yep. We could play that one too, because again, Francesca Hong, no shortage of quotable moments. So here's the one where she talks about 86ing Trump.
In the restaurant industry, when we're out of something, we say it's 86th. And I'd say it's about fucking time we 86 Trump. He represents the utter failure of our government to keep us safe from threats, both viral and systemic.
Okay.
Yep. Of course, when you have it's so, at this point, you just expect these sort of things to be said by Francesca Hong. Like, she is the inverse of Charlie Kirk at this point. Like, there's Charlie Kirk's tweet about everything and has been prescient and had a lot of foresight and a lot of random stuff. He said, he called for a salary cap in baseball, all these sort of things that every time something major happens, they find his tweet. Now with Francesca Hong, anytime you want to find something for opposition research, she has said it.
Well, and let's talk about it plainly. The Democrats love to play this game where they're like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. It's like, the 5-year-olds trying not to instigate each other by, I'm not touching you, while they hold their finger an inch away from your face, just hoping that you react. That's what the whole 86-47 is. It's like, we're going to remove him. Yeah. How are we going to remove him? I don't know. Use your imagination. Don't think about it. But just, we're going to 86 him. It's like, clearly, yeah, they just want him gone. They want him dead. Okay. Now the matter of death is maybe, we'll just leave that up into interpretation. But I'm not saying he needs to die. I'm just saying he should be removed, or he should go bye-bye, So I hate it. I absolutely have zero tolerance for that, because we all know what they're talking about. Come on, we're adults.
There is a microscopic difference between what Francesca Hong said and what Kirk Bangstad says every day. We need free beer day. I want to 86 Trump. There's just the sliver of difference, but in reality, it's the same thing. Yeah. But of course, there's a clip for it, and we got another one. I think, we're going to cover all the oppo that's been dropped, and this is, again, stuff that's dropped in probably the past week, maybe the past 7 or 8 days, 9 days tops. But this one really stood out to me. I think this is the most damning, because in this clip, she is talking about her own child. And I'm going to just play it for you right now, and we'll go from there.
I wasn't always aware of the struggles of other communities of color, because for me, assimilation always kind of took over. And so I did marry. My proximity to whiteness continues, right? I'm my son is biracial. He's half white and half Korean. And I think navigating, what his identity is and how people perceive him is always at the back of my mind as well.
So there, in this clip, she's talking about her husband. But she doesn't say. She says, she almost gets to the point where she says, I married a white man. But she cuts herself off. She realizes she doesn't want to go down that. So what does she do instead? She talks about her son and his proximity to whiteness, because she chose to have a kid with a white man. And how terrible, like what kind of parenting are you doing? What kind of insecurities are you breeding in your son because you have to mention his whiteness or that, I don't know. It's stunning to me that she would even go down this road, that she has to navigate risks and instill this identity confusion in her child.
Yeah. Well, I just think about how so many people are raised, myself included. I'm sure you were the same way, where you were raised, and race is something that you see very plainly. I mean, you can't miss it, but we never thought about it other than that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't some grievance. It wasn't something that we lamented or, constantly thought about. And now we have people like Francesca, where this is it's such a central aspect maybe not the central asset, but it's certainly such a central asset, but you bring it up like this. And I know this is kind of the woke 1.0 where it's like you constantly bring up these grievances, and it's instead of talking about, oh, I've sinned and how I've, done wrong. It's more like, oh, all of these, cultural issues are the sins, and I have to repent for them because I myself am a white person. Well, Francesca's not white, but because of her proximity to whiteness, she probably has to feel like she has to repent. And it's just, it is so bizarre, and it is so wrong. And yeah, who knows what she's saying to her poor son, who has probably no idea, like, about any of this to begin with. And there's the transgender thing where is it nature versus nurture? But apparently, why are all these transgender kids coming from like the absolute most insane people that, is it really nature when literally the parents are insane as well, and they put this stuff into their kids' brains, and then they turn out to have these wackadoodle ideas as well. Same thing with Fran, but I mean, I don't think her kid's old enough to really even understand these concepts. But
right.
And I know we're talking about the proximity of whiteness to her kid, but the fact that she can't even bring herself to say, you married a white dude. Like, what? It's, what's the big deal? Like, you can't even say the word white at the time. And obviously we don't know what was going on, and I don't know when the clip was actually filmed. So was this pre-divorce? Was it post-divorce?
No, I think this is post-divorce.
Yeah, okay. So maybe it's just like a sensitivity, like she doesn't want to talk about her ex-husband or something. But
she struggled because she really wanted she struggled to figure out how to say, I have a white ex-husband.
Yeah. So I feel for the kid. I feel for the fact that this is even a discussion point in 2026 where you have to kind of have this self-grievance for being white. Like, why does it have to be so racial? It's just like, we grew up and we never thought about this stuff at all.
No.
And then we have these insane people that are now trying to bring it back in the worst way possible. And in fact, you are going to create more racial animosity by using white people as like a derogatory word or like an icky word. And it's just like, even though she might not be explicitly saying, oh, white people are bad, like, we're smart enough to understand that that's kind of what you're going off of right now. Proximity to whiteness is bad.
There's a true irony in the fact that the modern progressive left, especially that racial, grievance culture and race hustling, is indistinguishable from the Dixiecrat South of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, when you have these, we need racial separation and all these sort of things, and we need schools just for black kids, and they need to, but it's under the guise of safety and protection, as opposed to, actually then it's probably under the guise of safety and protection as well, but integration was never a thing. And now these people have gone full circle to come back to it. And, Francesca Hong being a part of this racial grievance culture by, using her own son as an example is just disgusting, quite frankly.
It's dirty.
Growing up,
it's icky.
When I was her son's age, when I'm thinking about my kids and their age, where they are right now, like, there's nothing about race in their thoughts. They have kids that in their classes that they're friends with that look different from them or whatever. Like, they're friends with them. Like, there's no, it's never about that. It's always about, again, apparently the 90s version of being an anti-racist is now still the racist thing of treating everyone as you'd want to be treated, and treating everyone the same and respectfully, regardless of race, is now the problem. And now we have, again, a governor who's using her son as a racial talking point, which, again, I find absolutely abominable.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. I think it's a very dangerous road to go down, and I just have absolutely zero patience for it, because people love to talk, and the 90s might have been, the late 90s, early 2000s might have been the pinnacle of American society, at least in a way where it seemed like everything was kind of at a nice equilibrium. Jeez. And this, of course, race has been an issue in the United States for decades. For a very long time, and it probably will continue to be in some matter, but it certainly seemed like it was less of an issue. But now it's just like when people just inject this stuff into the water table, like people forget, like words have meaning. Like the older you get, the more you realize that these words, they're not just like things you throw around. These are things that are intentional and have meaning and gravitas behind them. And then we should be very careful about what we say and put into the water table, especially for the younger generation that might not understand that the words that they use have consequences or have direct meanings and stuff. So I have zero patience for it. And, I hope Francesca wins the nominee on August 11th, but after that, I don't want her anywhere near political office in the state of Wisconsin.
No, of course not. And you know what I think is true now is there's a lot of people on the left, especially on X that I've seen recently, that also don't want her near any levers of power. And no, she is unstable. She is, a grievance hustler and someone who has the intellectual ability of, like I said, a freshman year girl home on Thanksgiving or Christmas break who can just regurgitate her socialist professor's talking points from the 101 classes. I think about Judd Lounsbury. We picked on him fairly recently for wish casting a third term. He did this Bill Kristol style, straightforward from here. Evers announces he's running as a write-in. He gets elected, he resigns, and Sarah Godlewski becomes governor. Or, I think if you got to the point where you've lost Wisconsin Right Law L's, that account, now if you see that, like they're saying that whoever runs that account went so far as to say that Hong's spokeswoman is a Republican plant. Disgruntled Goat, which is another one that is on there, is spiraling. Like my entire For You section on X right now is libs that are just losing it, that Francesca Hong is leading and has all of this baggage already. And the wish casting and the hopium that they are consuming, thinking that maybe David Crowley can get it across the finish line, because as we saw just a day or two ago in Michigan with Haley Stevens coming within a half point of Abu El-Sayed, means that maybe David Crowley can get it across the finish line if he just wins 90% of the undecided voters that are out there right now.
Good luck.
They're bad. And, I see it on Reddit too. You go on to our Wisconsin or our Wisconsin politics, and it's people who are like, wow, we can't believe that she's saying these things. Like the moderators at Wisconsin politics, and those are have to be working overtime to be expunging all of the anti-Hong stuff right now, because there are people like, I'm a Democrat or I'm a liberal, but I can't believe she said this. I can't believe, I'm going to vote for her, but I really don't think it's a great idea. Or they're consigned to already losing because of all of the stuff in Francesca Hong's background. Now, there's people on there who are saying that's just astroturfing, Tom Tiffany or conservative supporters going in and being just trolling. But at the same time, the rhetoric on these Reddit accounts match what's on X from faced accounts who are just, again, absolute shambles right now over Francesca Hong leading this race. And the daily attacks that are, and the daily oppo drops coming. So I can only imagine how things are going to be for them on August 11th when she puts up 40% in the primary.
Yeah. The only thing I have to add is really that they're scared and the panic is setting in, and couldn't happen to a better group of people. So this is what you guys get for breeding the absolute insane base. Eventually, the what is it? The dog catches the car. Yeah. That's where we're at right now. They've caught up, and you're gonna get eaten by what you guys kind of started and allowed to kind of fester. So we kind of went through this in 2022, but to a lesser extent, I believe. And maybe this is just rose tinted goggles or a recency bias, but we somehow managed to survive 2022. I don't know if the Democrats are going to have as good of a time. So
yeah. We'll find out. But with that, I think I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're continuing to work on bringing some really great content. We've got some really cool things lined up for the primary election night and so much more on our next episode, where I think we're going to just spend some time. We're not going to talk about Francesca Hong if we can avoid it, and spend some time just previewing the elections we're watching on the primary night. If you like what you hear, make sure to leave us that 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Continue to like and share our YouTube episodes. We've seen such a bump in folks listening or tuning in there. It's been really cool to see. If you want more content, check out what we're writing at the Heartland Post. Obviously this week we spent it talking about Francesca Hong. Of course, if you want to learn more about us or have any questions, hit us up via email at newfashionpod@gmail.com. Find us on Rumble, YouTube, and Substack at New Fashion Conservatives, on X at New Fashion Pod. I'm on X at Justin E. Phillips. He's on X at
Robin_Voss_Stan.
Have a great rest of your week.